Hi, my name is Eric Sanciana.
Hi, my name is Moises Guerra.
Hi, my name is Christine Nguyen.
And I'm Sammy Jefferson.
And you're watching Crash Course the Crucible.
Da 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 da. Ding!
In this video, we are focusing on Reverend Parris.
If you missed last week's video, click on the box right here.
This video was sponsored by Miss Parris.
Hope you guys enjoy.
His real name was Reverend Samuel Parris, born in 1653, London, England. He was son of a cloth merchant, Thomas Parris, meaning he was a well-to-do person. He was sent to Harvard in Massachusetts to study, and while at college, his father died and left him a plantation in Barbados. Parris was only 20 at the time. Samuel Parris then went and leased his family plantation. That was until a storm destroyed his property. He then moved to Boston with his two slaves, Tituba and John India. Parris fell in love with Elizabeth Eldridge and eventually had 3 children, Thomas, Elizabeth, and Susanna. In 1686, he began substituting for absent ministers and speaking at informal church gatherings. Reverend Parris began to make negotiations with Salem to become an official minister. However, previously, the town had already gone through 3 others. Nonetheless, his Puritan beliefs had led him to believe that conflict was inevitable. His ministry began smoothly, but then as Parris began to reveal his beliefs and traits, being attempting to inspire religion in Salem village with theological conservatism, the people came to dislike him. A few years later, his daughter Elizabeth Parris began to act strange after months of fortune-telling, and would wriggle in agony when words of the Lord were said. Pretty soon, many of the girls that had attended the fortune-telling, including Elizabeth's cousin, Abigail, began to act strange. Parris then declared that the church was being invaded by the devil and was assisted by bad men. When the trials began, Reverend Samuel Parris would submit complaints, serve as a witness, testify against many of those who were accused, and sometimes would serve as the record keeper of the events. Pretty soon there were over 150 witches jailed, and over 20 hanged for refusing to confess. People became dissatisfied with Parris, and he failed to fully regain their support. And eventually, he was driven, leading him to apologize for his error. Finally, Reverend Samuel Parris died in Sudbury, Massachusetts on February 27, 1720.
The Crucible is an allegorical novel that represents the Red Scare in the 1950s to the Salem witch trials in Massachusetts. What is an allegory? An allegory is a figure of speech in which abstract ideas and principles are described in terms of characters, figures, and events. Thanks, literarydevices.net. For example, Animal Farm is represented as an allegory in the Russian Revolution, and the famous novel that you've read in middle school, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, is an allegory to the betrayal of Jesus by his disciple Judas.
Whoa, whoa, whoa!
Arthur Miller wrote The Crucible to bring attention to how powerful the government and high political figures like Joe McCarthy were in creating fear of spreading communist ideas and even becoming a reality for many of those suspected. In the puritanical society, the accusations became more significant and threatened even the most respected people, which just shows how corrupt systems desire to prove the nature of the guilty. Reverend Parris's role is crucial in revealing how the Red Scare took advantage of mass hysteria and was capable of controlling court decision, even with lack of evidence. Miller's argument that the American government took advantage of their power to selfishly blame the innocent is strengthened when Parris is more concerned about his own public image and reputation instead of the outcome of the trials.
Alright, let's see what's in the secret compartment today, guys. It's a dagger, much like the one that was thrown at Parris' front door. While Father Parris from Miller's The Crucible and the actual historical figure Samuel Parris may have more in common than you think. On November 19th, 1868, Parris became the official Reverend of Salem, with no real opposition against him. But then, much like the actual Parris of The Crucible, his strict standards and over-dedication to tradition, coupled with his two-faced extensive requests to provide him with land, a house, and firewood to warm said house, all from the pockets of the villagers, unavoidably led to the fraction of the church members and the low rate attendance of the church. Much how the land-thirsty actions from Parris from the Crucible led to the low attendance of Salem town citizen John Proctor. Yes, what is it, middle school me? Wait, but how does this historical accuracy between Parris in real life and Parris from the novel help further Miller's argument that people that are under influence from fear or from uncertainty are more likely to conform whatever they are told rather than come up with their own logical reasoning? Well, if you had read the rubric to this project, middle school me, then you would know that I'm going to go on to that next. Well, you see, Parris is the perfect example of the kind of person that would take advantage from the confusion and panic, seeing as he is portrayed in the novel as a person who is untrustworthy and in most situations willing to lie in the court, get an innocent person hanged just to keep power, as well as in real life was known for claiming that people were against him to be in cahoots with the devil, both just doing it just to hold on to power.
Like said previously, Parris in the Crucible represents the American government. This is shown as during Miller's time, people were threatened by loss of jobs with the slightest conviction of communism. However, they denied accusations of their men in office. Similarly, in the Crucible, the proctor brings up during the trial that the girls were dancing in the woods naked. It is clear by his response that this was the first time Danforth was aware of their behavior. This clearly shows how both Parris and Hale refrained from providing this information to Danforth in order to save their reputation, as they were the only ones who knew, besides the girls. Parris also represents the majority of the society that would constantly worry about their reputation lowering, as shown in the previous example, as well as when Betty would not wake. In this scene, instead of being worried about his daughter's state, Parris agonized over how people would react when they found that their minister's household was involved with witchcraft. By making these connections, Miller illustrates specific examples of how the government reacted to the spread of communism during the McCarthy era.
Make sure to leave a like, subscribe,
And comment below.
And stay tuned for next week's video on Tituba.
Thanks
for watching.
Da 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 da. Ding!